There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. It's a Supernatural News ParaShare Monday. I'm your host, Dave Schrader, and joining me from the Supernatural News Desk, Mr. Tim Dennis. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good.
Well, that's good to hear. You've got a lot of stories, it looks like, building up for this last week.
There's been a lot going on this last week. It's been an interesting week in supernatural news, that's for sure.
All right, well, let's not dicky-dacker around. Let's get right to it and jump into some stories. We've got a lot of ParaShare to try to get to today as well. Where will we begin today's journey in the world of the strange?
Well, let's begin with the controversy that's on everybody's lips, Dave. It's the ghosts of Shepherdstown. Everybody wants to seem to tag every paranormal show out there as being staged, right, or a fraud, or, and I think people have a direct lack of understanding as to what goes behind the production of a paranormal show.
Right.
Well, this last week, I believe it was Dread Central and Inquisitor both had stories out having to do with the fact that Ghosts of Shepherdstown may have been debunked as staged. I think it was Dread Central that first came out with the story. The story here, as far as the Ghosts of Shepherdstown goes, is such. Dread Central has an article that comes out first. It says that since Ghost Adventures took off like wildfire for Travel Channel, there's been a throng of television series for various networks that have ranged from imitation to god-awful. This is according to Dread Central, not according to us. And the writer of the article says, I should know because I consume them like candy, and after a few years, though, there are only 4 that remain the most compelling. According to this person who wrote the article, Ghost Adventures, The Dead Files, Destination Truth, and Ralph Sarchi's short-lived The Demon Files. Sadly, only 2 of them are still pumping, but new episodes that remain as good as they ever were. Again, according to the article writer, because of my fascination with the paranormal, I've gone on several investigations to some really crazy places and even launched a radio show dedicated to the subject itself and the horror genre in Brainwaves Horror and Paranormal Talk Radio. Let me be clear, I'm in no way an expert on the unknown, but I often wonder how some of the paranormal programming today stays on the air with some of the stuff the producers and stars of the show come up with, a lot of which is insulting to your intelligence. I've seen people who are respected in the field go so far as to activate their own motion detectors and claim it's paranormal activity, to amateurs who are trying to make a name for themselves by inventing things like a solar-powered ghost zapper as a means to capture spirits. Unfortunately for Destination America, this again according to the article writer, Ghost of Shepherdstown, despite being successful for the network, has recently come under the microscope. On the show, which is going into its 2nd season, we follow incidents occurring in the small town of Shepherdstown, West Virginia, as investigators Nick Groff, Bill Hartley, and Elizabeth Saint attempt to solve unexplained activity in what's supposed to be the most haunted town in America. That's all fine, well, and good, but here's the thing in terms of paranormal investigations being taken seriously. Once your credibility is called into question, it takes away from the overall project and leaves viewers with a show that has more in common with Paranormal Activity than the movie, Paranormal Activity the movie rather, than it does reality or even one's perception of reality. According to the director of the Visitor Center in Shepherdstown, Marianne Davis, via the Inquisitor, parts of Ghosts of Shepherdstown's, this according to the article writer now, I want to clarify this. Parts of Ghosts of Shepherdstown are staged and fake, saying that ghost stories and locations are changed by the show's producers to make good television. Now, there's an editor's note in this article saying, since the source article was posted by the Inquisitor, it has been updated by its author to fix problems with inaccurate quotes and citation of their source. The article was based on the original version, not the updated version that can be found online. It's clear now that their original article was misleading and inaccurate, and they said they will not use that site as a source in the future, and they apologize for their error. Now, with that being said, that the writer goes on to say that's probably the worst possible thing to come out for the cast and crew of the show, and I honestly cannot recall a time that this has ever happened to any of the many paranormal-related television properties. People have been trying to debunk things that they see on TV with varying degrees of success since the Internet gave everyone a voice. At the end of the day, though, there's a good chance that no one will even care and the show will continue to perform for its network. For the more discerning paranormal enthusiasts, however, this one is definitely a very sad and hard pass. That's according to this writer of this article. And then they say Season 2 of Ghosts of Shepherdstown premieres on Destination America Monday, July 10th at 10 p.m. Eastern. Now, the follow-up to that.
There's a follow-up that came out. Yeah, I saw part of this as well. First of all, and what's your take on it? I mean, if not reading into the second article, an article drops like that, like you said, many shows have been dissected. People like to break it down and say this is fake, that's fake, blah, 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 and they go on and make their claims. And in some cases, there's some compelling evidence out there to make it look that way. Most Haunted, I think, is definitely among the hierarchy of shows that have been busted and debunked, even in their own specials. There's video footage of it online. You can go find it, folks, on YouTube. Just look at Most Haunted Hoaxed, and you'll see clips of just ridiculous things taking place where you can see the people manipulating the item or what's going on. But you hear this, and, I understand for the skeptics, they're not going to believe until they have their own experience, period. Right. That's just the way it goes. And that's good. Question everything, and it's TV, and it's supposed to be entertainment, and that is the truth of it. But you also have to realize that in a 1-hour show, you have to be compelled to watch it for the 59 minutes where there is no evidence, right? And then you look at all of the evidence, and it maybe comes to 10 seconds worth of something happening. And they've got to make that exciting and energizing. So, again, and I worked with Nick on Ghost Adventures. I worked with the guys on Ghost Adventures, Paranormal State. And, I've heard things said about all the shows. Every episode I've ever been involved with has been on the up and up, and what you see air is exactly what happened during the filming of our episode. So I can't speak for any other shows or any other people, but in my personal kind of work with this, everything I've seen I've been very happy about, and I wouldn't associate with these shows because I do worry about my own kind of credibility. If these shows seem to be faked or goofy or acting strange, or I saw anything janky at all, I would talk about it because I don't want to be associated with that type of work. And now I will tell you, a whole town being haunted and the sheriff calls in paranormal investigators, I gotta be honest with you. That sounds like an insane premise, right? A sheriff is calling in the help, or the law enforcement is calling in the help of paranormal investigators. But, that's cool. I mean, if they found a town that's got that angle and are willing to go on record to do that, I think that's fantastic. And it's a great opportunity for viewers to watch something compelling and different than what else is on TV. But that was always kind of my sticking point. That made me question the show from the get-go. I don't know where you stand on that.
Here's where I stand with it. And I get that certain things can be changed occasionally in production locations can be changed in production because of maybe something doesn't look quite right visibly to the eye. Okay. I get that from a production standpoint, from a television production standpoint. And that's part of the controversy here, and we'll get into that in a bit. The other part of it is that there are people out there that so want to believe that what they're seeing, even the minutia of what they're seeing on the screen is faked, that they're looking for it. It's like looking for a magic trick in a magic act. They're looking to see what the trick is. They're looking to see how it's done. And part of it is not just sitting back and watching it for the entertainment for what it is. Whether you believe it or not, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, it seems like people are spending so much time trying to dissect it that they're not sitting back and watching it for what it is, which is entertainment. With that in mind, keep that in mind, as far as my perspective goes, I got to think it's got to be impossible to produce an hour of television week in and week out and not come up with just nothing. Okay? So I'm not saying that there's any trickery or fakery going on here. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that is there a little bit of Hollywood magic thrown into a show to make it compelling? Yes. There's got to be some things like what's coming up next and something to lead you into the next break to make you think that there's going to be something there that maybe there isn't. Sure. There has to be something compelling to make you to keep watching the show, even if there aren't paranormal results in that show that you think are going to be there. Because let's face it, you've all been, at least the people listening to the show may have been on investigations before and sat there. And I've always maintained this, that if I had a paranormal show, it'd be called 4 Hours in the Dark. You're not going to get a lot sometimes. You're just not going to have results after results after results.
No, it's just, it's a very boring aspect. Real
Right.
investigations can be slow and boring. But
Right.
when you get that stuff happening and when it does explode and there starts to occur a bunch of deals, it can be really exciting. So I get that
Right.
aspect of it. But again, for TV, you're not always in the right place at the right time.
And Nick has kind of pigeonholed himself with the show, as you mentioned. It's an entire town that's supposedly haunted. All right, you've narrowed the scope here, and now you've built a series around it. Okay, so you've limited your set, you've limited your scope, you've limited what you can do. There's going to be some things that are going to have to be moved around and changed, and that's part of this controversy, is that they've had to move some locations for shooting or filming, and it's not necessarily the haunted parts that they're moving, but they're doing some moving and changing, and that's kind of what the source that was misquoted by Inquisitor was cited as saying, was that some of the locations were moved for shooting. And it wasn't a reenactment or anything like that, but some of the sources, or some of the locations, you know what I'm trying to say, some of the locations were moved for shooting, and it led people to believe that some of it might have been scripted or faked or whatever.
You know, yeah, if it's like just to do an interview or they're doing
Right.
something, sometimes you got to find a good backdrop and something good and dark and spooky, and it has nothing to do with the actual activity or where you're going to investigate. Now, if they say we're in the basement of the haunted mansion and you find out they're really in like the, basement of a truck stop filming because it looked creepier, yeah, then you have some severe problems with it. So I understand that aspect, and I don't think that's what has been occurring. But again, not being privy to how the show is handled or done, it's almost impossible to weigh in. But somebody did weigh in on this. What's the follow-up?
Well, the follow-up here, Dave, is that Nick Groff denied all the fake rumors. He came out and tried to squash it right away. And Jason Hawes actually came forward to defend his integrity, which is something on a completely different level. This is the first time I remember anybody coming forward from a different television show and defending somebody on a television show. And correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't know that Jason's ever stepped on the set of Ghost of Shepherdstown, but
no, I don't think so. I think he's talked to Nick in friendly ways from
Yep.
time to time, and has been where Nick has been and has walked in those shoes, and I think
Yep.
he had a unique perspective on it.
And so the two of them got together and basically, here's the story. Paranormal TV shows bring out the skepticism in many viewers, but Ghost of Shepherdstown has been in the hot seat this week due to reports that one of Shepherdstown's residents allegedly said in an interview that Ghost of Shepherdstown is staged and faked, as reported by Dread Central. That prompted Jason Hawes of Ghost Hunters to post a link to a story on his Facebook, but late Wednesday night, Hawes seemed to have a change of heart about the authenticity of the media report rather than Ghost of Shepherdstown itself. Hawes came to the defense of one of the show's stars and producer, Nick Groff, known for his past work on Ghost Adventures and his current hit paranormal series, Paranormal Lockdown. Hawes told paranormal fans he had never seen Ghost of Shepherdstown and wasn't aware of Groff's involvement when he initially posted the article link, but had just talked to Groff on the phone before filming the video clip. He says, quote, when I posted the article, it was a surprise to me because I know Nick has always been a stand-up guy and have never had a problem with him. And I truly think he's interested in the field of paranormal investigations, which a lot of shows out there can be. Let's be honest. You all know it as well as I do. There's a lot of, we'll just say BS out there, and a lot of people who friggin' just want to be on TV. Hawes went on to tell his paranormal fans that they should give Groff the benefit of the doubt and gave them a heads up that Groff himself would be making a statement on his Facebook shortly after the video was posted. Now, there is a story here that they're getting some paranormal fans are getting some confusing quotes. Nick explained on his Facebook page that the original quote that started the whole mess by Shepherdstown Visitor Center Director Mary Ann Davis had been taken out of context when reported by other media outlets. The Journal, who spoke with Davis directly, reported as part of their interview that Davis said some of the locations or ghost stories were changed by the show's producers to make good television. In a previous Inquisitor report, the exchange was reported as the following, which the quote was, but the director of the Visitor Center in Shepherdstown, Mary Ann Davis, confirmed that parts of the ghosts of Shepherdstown are staged and fake, saying that the ghost stories and locations are changed by the show's producers to make good television. Finally, Dread Central incorrectly attributed the staged and fake quote to Davis herself, which Groff pointed out was not in her original interview quote. Dread Central's version is the following, quote, according to the director of the Visitor Center in Shepherdstown, Mary Ann Davis, via the Inquisitor, parts of Ghosts of Shepherdstown are staged and fake, saying that ghost stories and locations are changed by the show's producers to make good television. Now, Nick has assured everybody that the Ghosts of Shepherdstown's fans, or rather assured the fans that the stories are very much real. He says that despite Davis's actual comments about changing locations or stories, he and his fellow investigators, Bill Hartley and Elizabeth Saint, are working with their team and researchers to ensure that all witnesses' stories are told accurately and that all of the witnesses' accounts that they investigate are real. His statement, and these are the full statements on the rumors, he says, quote, hi, everyone. I started to see some questions about the authenticity of Ghosts of Shepherdstown, and I just want to clear the air for you all as we go into season 2 this next week. My fellow investigators, Bill Hartley and Elizabeth Saint, and I work closely with production, the local researcher Dana Mitchell in the town of Shepherdstown, to ensure that all witnesses' stories are told accurately. All of the witness accounts that we investigate are real. Unfortunately, an online outlet took a quote from Mary Ann Davis, the director of the Shepherdstown Visitor Center, out of context from an interview that Mary Ann gave to a local newspaper earlier this year. Mary Ann was not interviewed by this outlet, nor any other that shared the story. Mary Ann is a lovely person who cares passionately about her community and has been a great resource and ally for us filming. After talking with her today, Mary Ann said, we're looking forward to the new season and introducing new visitors from around the world to Shepherdstown. And to help her set the record straight, I wanted to share the full context of what Mary Ann said when she did an interview with the local newspaper back in January. You'll also notice in that interview that she never states part of Ghosts of Shepherdstown are staged and faked as referenced by other online outlets, and he includes the link to journal-news.net. He says, thanks to you all for the support, and I hope you'll tune in on Monday night at 9 Central to watch the season 2 premiere on Destination America. Now, in the original article, it never does say staged and faked. And that, again, is a misstep by Inquisitor. So in that, you have to ask yourself, is it Inquisitor trying to drive online business to their site? Is it trying to drive, traffic, business, advertising?
Right, that clickbait nonsense where you read a headline and when you get there, it's nothing like what you were expecting to see.
Right. And it's easy for any online outlet to say, hey, a paranormal show is fake, and to get that quick business and the quick advertising off of it, because in their minds, and I think in most minds, they think that most everybody who's watching the show anyways thinks that it's being faked.
Right.
So in their mind, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you definitely have to be careful. It just seems weird. Oh, well, what she said was taken out of context. But if she's saying things are fake, and I don't know. Are they citing that is the original spot that they got the information from? Did they speak to her directly? It'd be interesting to see where they got their quotes, and is she being quoted out of context? Because just by referring to a past article that she did give an interview on, right? I mean, you would have thought that if that information was part of that original interview, it would have blown up at that time.
Yeah, it would have. Originally, when she did the interview, at that point, it should have been sourced as, according to the journal news, and that reporter, it would have been directly sourced. As it is, all these months later, and coincidentally, right before the premiere of season 2, now the staged and faked story comes out. And it's all a little too convenient. And that's, again, why I think the questioning has to come out, and not so much jumping on Inquisitor and going, oh, see, it's fake. And following what you see online as opposed to actually following back to the source of the real interview.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, we wish everybody success and luck with what they're working on in their different projects. And it's real easy to stand back and say that you're looking behind the veil and can prove that it's not true. And I've had, how many people have come forward saying that they're going to give me some explosive information proving that ghost hunters, ghost adventures, Ghost of Shepherdstown, Ghost Brothers, any of these shows are fake, and nobody ever supplies me with anything. Ever. Not once in all of these years have I ever been given information that I found to be explosive, and it's not just me judging. It's not me looking at it and going, yeah, it's probably not. It's me looking at the information and thinking, are you crazy? There's absolutely nothing here. You have nothing to base these claims on. So,
and one note here, Dave, not to kind of hold ourselves on any type of pedestal or anything, but we've had the fortunate place of being able to investigate with a lot of these guys too. And we know that they're just as passionate about the field as any other amateur investigator out there.
Right.
And nobody's really a professional, let's face it. But they have
that's kind of I hate that line. There's no professionals. Yeah, there are. If you spend a certain amount of time doing the stuff and you're taking it seriously, and there are researchers who are professionals or experts. They're experts in the field as they understand it. I think that might be an easier way to say it, but the dismissive nature of there are no professionals, there are a lot of people that take this very dedicated, very important, and do the job the right way. Seriously. No, I know, not from you. I'm just saying overall, there's a real easy line. Everybody thinks they sound cool and intelligent to say there's no experts in the paranormal field. Yes, there are. And they've written amazing books and have been there hands-on as parts of these stories. And I'm not attacking what you say. I'm just jumping off from what you said because I've heard a lot of people expound upon that and that, this pretentious bullshit about there is no experts and blah, blah. There are experts. There are people who have dedicated their lives to this and researching. Not everybody that calls themselves an expert, but again, you get the same thing in roofers and masonry and plumbing and air conditioning and heating and auto mechanics, right? That they've gone to school for it, but they are by no means an expert at what they do. So that aspect I get.
And just because these guys are on TV doesn't mean that they lack passion in what they do.
Right.
If anything, these guys have, I think, more passion than the average layman that's out there doing these investigations. The fact that they remain driven, the fact that they are on television means that they have to maintain their credibility much, much more than anyone who's formed a team, went out there, and decided they're going to do investigation of people's homes or even just an average hobbyist who's going out there and doing investigations. They're putting their name on the line every single time that they appear on television.
Right.
So not only do they have to maintain their passion, they have to maintain their integrity much, much more than you'd ever have to imagine. So, before you start throwing out the F word at every single episode, think about that for a second.
All right, what's our next story? And I got to give props to Jason Hawes for coming forward and doing that. It's pretty interesting to see that kind of cross division come together. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It is what it is. Where are we going next?
Well, we jump into another paranormal expert story where a paranormal expert, it says it in quotes, helps search for a slain, I believe I'm going to slaughter another city here, Dave. Bahal Mayor's remains. It has been nearly a month since the divers of Task Force Bonil, see, I can talk, started their search operations for Bien Unido Mayor Gisela Bonil's body. The divers entered their 17th diving day and searched the waters near Barangay Kauai Alongo Island in Lapu-Lapu City.
Yeah, I've got a quaint little summer house there.
Yeah, I think I took a boat ride by there once. A boat ride, Dave, once.
Take it out on a boat by Gingo Capo Island?
By Lapu-Lapu City there once, where they found a cave on Monday. The divers even brought a paranormal expert to the waters of Lapu-Lapu City and Bahal in their search last Saturday. The person mentioned a cave in the area and claimed that Bonil's body can be found there. The divers, however, were not able to get inside the cave due to limitations with their oxygen tanks. They plan to return on Wednesday to continue the search. On June 29th, the mayor's husband, provincial board member Nino Ray Bonil, pleaded not guilty to kidnapping and serious illegal detention charges. The mayor's best friend, Angela Layson, filed the case before the Taliban Regional Trial Court. The mayor was allegedly thrown off a boat in Cobian Island. I believe it's Cebu or Cebu? Yeah. After her husband allegedly shot her dead on June 8th. So there you go.
Very cool. Weird stuff.
Very weird.
Mediums for trying to find the bodies, and they can't get in there because of their air tank. You think they'd try snuba?
Snuba?
Yeah, snuba is I did that when I got on a trip to, believe it or not, Tim, I went in the ocean once to Hawaii, and I did snuba, where it's basically scuba and snorkeling together. Your tanks float at the top of the water.
Oh,
so
weird.
you can go down, and you don't have the heavy tanks on your back.
Huh.
Yeah, so I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and had a great time with it. And I'll never do it again because the ocean's scary and filled with icky things that want to eat and kill me. But I did it. I've been there. I did something I was afraid of, and I challenged myself, Tim.
Well, good.
And I'm safe to say I've returned in one piece this time. So I figure why tempt the fates? But yeah, I would think if they snoobed, they could get into that cave. Maybe they don't have a hose long enough. That's what she said. All right, where are we going next? Where are we going next?
We're going to the Museum of Shadows, Dave, where things just plain go bump in the night there. At the Museum of Shadows, the most haunted museum in the world, a battery-operated toy monkey occasionally crashes together the miniature symbols he holds. I just think that that's cute, but it creeps a lot of people out, says Kaylee Ratterman, co-owner of with her husband Nate of this haunted museum in Plattsmouth. He moves from time to time, but he has no batteries in. He does this different hours of the night, and during the day, one time he triggered our alarm system at 2:30 a.m. See, monkeys are great because they'll trigger your alarm system. The toy monkey is one of more than 1,000 haunted items showcased at the museum, many just as scary as he, and that's why it's considered the most haunted museum in the world as well. And then there's Ada, an antique porcelain red-haired doll that also likes to move on her own in the museum. She's no?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
No.
Burn the place down. Burn it down.
She's friendly, but you must be respectful when talking to her. A 6-year-old girl is attached to her, Kaylee said. Joining Ada in the museum is Demas. Demas is the second most haunted doll in the world. Ada is the most haunted, Nate said. Demas was found buried in a box in a garden. When it was displayed in a home, the owner started hearing strange noises coming out of it and donated it to the museum. Demas, you say. Ada is going to be featured in a movie that will be shown in theaters across the nation. Demas is being considered for another film. Nate and Kaylee will be the only ones handling their doll for the film work. We never handle any of the items with bare hands, Kaylee explained. We wear thick gloves so there's no energy exchange from the item to us. Remember, always wear protection, Dave. They're so thick.
What's that?
Protection?
7 children. You're talking to the wrong guy here. Yeah, we talked to the Raidermans about their Museum of Shadows. It sounds like a creepy place. I'm going to try to get out there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to touch things, Tim, without protection.
Oh, my God. Look at you, you rebel.
I'm going to rub myself up against the redheaded doll.
God, you naughty, naughty man. You.
Sorry.
They're so thick you could dip your hands in acid and it would not penetrate them. The gloves, that is.
I wonder if the paranormal live by the same rules as that, or if it's their intention, believing that thick rubber gloves will keep them safe.
We also don't allow people to touch any of the items in the museum to keep them from getting any attachments. Although Nate wouldn't reveal what the item is, the museum is home to something once on the Titanic. It's rare and behind glass, of course, he said. Visitors can get right up to the glass case, as a matter of fact. Every item in the museum goes through a special quarantine process before it is showcased there. The process is done in another building. Every item spends about 2 weeks in its own observation room undergoing investigations to see who and what is attached. The items are also researched in depth by law enforcement and the FBI, Nate explained. Law enforcement is privy to information that the two can't access on their own. Most of the objects in the museum were donated by people from all over the world. Not every item has an attachment, and those items won't go in the museum. Those items are either returned or destroyed, Nate said. If something is found to have negative or demonic energy, it is also excluded from being in the museum. Nothing negative or demonic will ever come into the museum for our safety and the safety of people coming in. The museum also houses 2 axes involved in a murder, but there is no negative energy attached to them. It's the victims of the murder that are attached to them, they went on to say. Touring the museum is only one of the activities ghost lovers can partake in there. We have candlelight tours and guided tours in the evening where we talk about the most haunted items in the museum and the different paranormal activities we have experienced in the museum, Nate went on to say. He also went on to say actual ghost hunts are also available. It's lights out, and we use top-of-the-line equipment and actually investigate ghosts. He also went on to say 4 ghost hunts are scheduled every month. Only 12 tickets are sold for each ghost hunt. Candlelight tours are open to anyone. The museum opened in Plattsmouth June 17th at 502 Main Street. We opened it October 2016 in Elmwood and moved it from there. Plattsmouth is very nice. We love the community. Our first event here in Plattsmouth involved all repeat customers who went to an event in Elmwood. They love the building and love Plattsmouth. There is more for them to do. They can walk around the downtown to the different shops, and we've had really good feedback from people who came to our past location. For more information about the Museum of Shadows, you can go to the website. It's museumofshadows.com or the Museum of Shadows Facebook page. So there you go.
Yeah, they're great. They were a lot of fun on the show, too. All right, I think we've got time for one more before we go to break. Where are we going to go next?
Well, Dave, evidently we've been wrong all along.
I have many people that will admit to that, but about what specifically?
Well, you say zombies. I still maintain I'm right. Skynet is going to be the end of all humanity.
Well, obviously. It's got to be. There's no other possibilities. There is the rise of the Terminators, or there are zombies. What more could possibly go to end the planet as we know it, Tim?
Dave, evidently, according to Florida, our friends in Florida, it is neither Skynet, it is neither zombies, it is wild monkeys.
What? The rise of the Planet of the Apes, Tim?
See, I've always loved monkeys. I didn't think it was going to be monkeys.
Right, it's always monkeys, Tim.
Monkeys are our friends, Dave.
Oh, my God. What's going on in Florida?
We go to Ocala, Dave, where a visit to a state park in Florida turns scary for a family.
You go to Ocala. I'm staying here in Minnesota. You go to Ocala.
Well, okay. I'm not afraid of monkeys. Monkeys are my friend.
Read the rest of the story.
A visit to a state park in Florida turned scary for a family from Estero? You say Estero, I say Estero. Let's call the whole thing off. Susie Ramsey and her family were visiting on June 29th when they came across a group of wild rhesus monkeys. For more than 75 years, rhesus monkeys have inhabited Silver Spring State Park in Ocala. That population has grown to roughly 200 monkeys. Oh, they got 200 of them together, Dave. It's like a little colony. University of Florida biologists say new sightings of the monkeys have been reported in Lady Lake and the Villages, more than 20 miles south of the park.
Bad
No?
plans. No, Tim.
Well,
They're gonna start the uprising soon. Soon will be the uprising too.
Maybe as soon as July 14th. You never know.
Yes.
Biologists fear as the population grows, they would not be surprised to see males disperse outside of the Ocala area.
Mm-hmm.
Ramsey and her family came across a troop of monkeys.
Tim.
Ramsey and her family came across a troop of monkeys at the Sea Hunt exhibit. In a video posted on YouTube, you can see at first the monkeys were just sitting around. They're just minding their business, Dave.
Right.
Minding their business.
Mm-hmm.
However, just a few minutes later, the monkeys became angry because there's people around probably throwing stuff at them. They growled, hissed, and started chasing people. Thankfully, no one was hurt. But you know why? Because there were people in their area. That's why. Ramsey tells ABC Action News that she wishes the park would warn people about the monkeys. Well,
it's a little Planet of the Apes theme for you there, Tim.
There's nothing anywhere telling you that you should be aware that they're there, says Ramsey, who's obviously dense. Because they're obviously very aggressive, she adds. Well, don't go in there riling up the monkeys.
She's not. They were just going through. They had no clue it was going to get this violent, Tim.
Well, you know what? You don't go through there with a banana milkshake. That's the thing, Dave. She says her family did not approach the monkeys or try to feed them. Oh, sure, they say that, but I bet you they're lying. Attacks by monkey can be serious, it says here.
It can, Tim. Yeah.
They might jump on your bed, Dave.
No more monkeys jumping on my bed. That's not the truth of it, Tim. They're violent. They're waiting for the humans to fall so they can take over their rightful place. Get your filthy paws off me, you damn dirty apes.
The article here says the animals have sharp fangs and are extremely strong for their size. They can seriously injure people. If you spot a monkey in the wild, you should never look directly into their eyes or maybe even try to kiss them. I made that last part up.
Yeah,
or smile with your teeth showing. The animals consider such action as a sign of aggression.
Jeez. It's like my ex-wife.
Yeah, well, she always thought I was
smiling at nothing.
I know, right? She hated me. Boy, did she hate me. Just back away from them without showing fear and open your palms to indicate to them that you're not holding some food. Boy, it's like the Wild West out there, isn't it? You just hold your palms open and
I don't remember there being wild monkeys in the Wild West, Tim.
Oh, there were, Dave.
I don't think so. I think they were cute little, like, those little rhesus monkeys or little spider monkeys, spider monkeys. They were the ones that were
rhesus monkeys that attacked, though.
Yeah, but that was, that's one here and there. We're not talking about an entire, like,
colony?
Sex conclave of...
Sex conclave of monkeys.
Of monkeys.
That's the name of my new album.
Sex conclave? Yeah, I like
that. Of monkeys, yeah.
Yeah.
Ramsey says the monkeys chased after her family. The monkeys had chased after her family, Dave, even though they did not look them in the eyes or do anything aggressive towards the animals. Yeah, right. She adds there should be a sign warning people wild monkeys live in the area. The state park website also does not mention the monkeys are there. Well, like they should. Like, hey, there's the monkeys.
Right.
People say they monkey around.
I don't know, man. That's freaky.
Matt Mitchell, assistant director with the Florida Park Service, issued the following statement. The Florida Park Service is committed to ensuring visitor safety, providing high-quality visitor service, and protecting the natural resources located within the park. Since our parks and trails are natural environments, visitors may encounter wildlife like monkeys.
Yeah, may encounter wildlife. When I hear that, you know what I think, Tim? I think cute little squirrels. I think chipmunks, because they're adorable. I think birds. I think maybe a snake or two zipping around. And that's what I think of when you may encounter nature. I don't think of poofling and monkeys.
See, when I'm in Florida, here's what I think.
Yes,
if I'm going to encounter wildlife, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking crocodiles, snakes. dinosaurs, and gorillas and jaguars. That's what I'm thinking I'm encountering. I'm thinking I need to go out there with a machete and a machine gun because I love stereotypes. And I just think that that's what I'm going to encounter when I go to Florida. So I never visit Disney World or Universal Studios unless I'm fully armed. I'm just saying.
That just puts you on every NSA list in the world.
I'm sure TSA is going to thoroughly search me now next time I go to
Mickey Mouse meet and greet is off to Tim Dennis. There will be
I'm sure. Yeah.
There will be no hanging out in Donald Duck's Adobe when he's out. No.
I'm swinging fists with brass knuckles every time I see a giant rodent.
You're
I'm
swinging
just saying.
What?
Swinging fists with brass knuckles every time I see a giant rodent.
What the kids are calling it these days?
Yep.
All right. Yes.
Now, Dave,
oh my God, there's more?
There's a full statement here.
Okay,
the Florida Park Service needs to be off the hook. They say that the Florida Park Service posts signs and flyers to educate visitors about wildlife and remind them to keep a respectful distance from animals and not to feed them or try to touch or capture them. Flyers related specifically to the monkeys are posted at kiosks throughout Silver Spring State Park with specific signage posted at the Ross Island Boardwalk and Sea Hunt Deck. See? There are monkey signs. Both of these areas of the park,
in the trees.
Both of these areas of the park are currently closed due to recent increased monkey presence at these locations. So they're setting up their own colony, Dave.
Monkeys is the craziest people.
The rhesus monkeys, by the way, Dave, are not native to Florida. They were first released onto an island as part of a former attraction in the park in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. I blame Walt Disney. The monkeys later swam off the island. Why?
Oh,
because they're
trying to take over the planet, Tim.
Yep.
And let me just warn you, if a rhesus monkey throws poo at you, those are not Reese's Pieces, Tim. Do not eat them.
They're not?
Lesson learned.
But they're coated, Dave. They're kind of hard. They have a hard shell.
Fool me 3 times. No, no, Tim. They're not real Reese's Pieces.
Oh, okay.
Is there any more to this story, or can you walk away? Good God! All right, you have more stories for us?
I do.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and let's. You know what we should also talk about is let's just do this right now. Let's talk about the new Planet of the Apes movie opening up this week.
Well, okay, but you got to see it. I didn't.
Okay, right. Well, that's why we're going to talk about it. You should have been there. It was an awesome movie.
Yeah.
The new Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, is fantastic. I love this movie. It's part of a new trilogy, and they've kind of, I don't want to say reimagined the history, but they have to a degree. Because if you followed the original series, they kind of took you back in the last 2 movies to how the planet turned into the Planet of the Apes. And they do that in these first 2 movies, if you've seen them, beautifully. Mm-hmm. The CGI is so seamless and gorgeous that you can feel the emotion from these characters. Well done. And, they give a lot of credit to Andy Serkis and the other people involved. I don't know how much you can give to that when you're painting over them with, digital effects, Weta effects. But whatever they're doing is truly magic. It is a great movie, and it finally brings... I don't want to give too much away, but it's been out there in a lot of the ads. They bring a classic character from the original series into this movie. And it's interesting. What was so fun is I went and I saw this movie with my girl and her 3 boys. And we walked out and they said, the kids had this great reaction. They're like, I thought the apes were the bad guys. And I said, right? And it's just it gives you this remarkable feel. When you go in and see this, you have sympathy for the ape race and realize the real animals are the humans. And it's really well done. I would say out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it a solid 4.5 stars out of 5.
Wow.
And, I know that they wanted to limit it. They were going to do just these 3 and then walk away from the series. Mm-hmm. But with what they've done, as much as I love the original trilogy, I would still like to see them at least tackle the first Planet of the Apes movie with the new effects and the new storytelling. And I don't think you have to change the ending. I think it's great because they've already set the premise. If you've been a fan of the Planet of the Apes movie, in the very first of this new series, in the background and on newspapers, they're talking about this space shuttle that's gone missing. Well, that is the Icarus, which lands in the original movie that had Charlton Heston in it. And I would love to just see them redo it, but do it with the new effects and the new storyline, because I want that closure for me. I mean, you could do the first two, or at least the first one, and then leave it after that. But I hope they don't walk away from the series. I would love to see them go further.
Well, I know the director of this movie is now doing Ben Affleck's Batman movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So so that gives me hope for the new Batman movie. But I would, I'm okay if they leave it here, because to me,
wait till you see it. I want you to honestly, before you weigh in on that, and you can say your point here in a minute. Wait till you see it, because they do such a great job with this movie. It leads you to the point of, I need to see the next chapter. I have to see if they could do this and bring it to this life. I would love to just see that. And it's not taking away from the original, because I loved the original movies. Mm-hmm. But this is something I feel that transcends the original movies overall. And I still love the original movies, but these are great. And the reason I say that, Tim, is I think the first movie, and I think you agree with me, the first Planet of the Apes is a pretty awesome movie.
Oh, yeah.
But you try to sit your kids down and watch it after you watched the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so dated because of the effects,
right,
and the makeup, that my kids just don't want to hang with it, and they're not getting into it. There's no connection. That's why I would love to see that story get told again in a current day. That's one of the few movies I'm okay with them remaking, because special effects have finally caught up to that point. But your point was what? Go ahead and tell me why you'd be happy with it staying on this trilogy.
I guess the reason why I'd be happy with it staying on the trilogy and leaving everything where it is because, in 2 words, Tim Burton. I know if you put it in the current storyteller's hands, it could be done well, and it could succeed. The only issue is that you're going to have a break now with the new Batman movie, and it's going to come in quite a few years. It probably won't be for another 3-4 years that you would have another Planet of the Apes movie.
See, that's perfect. That's just the right amount of time for people to really kind of be wanting that back again. I think that's a great break, because if you're going to revisit it, give this first 3 its due, and then bring out that last one to just tighten it up, and then leave it alone.
But the whole bringing it back to, and I think there's that shell shock from the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes that makes people go, I don't know, are we going a step too far? And it kind of brings that skepticism back to it. I think by doing the prequel, it made people go, well, you know what, I could kind of buy into this, and it reset people a little bit.
Right, but I also think people should just make sure that they realize this is in no way, this series, tied into the Tim Burton movie series. This is not the prequel to the Tim Burton series. There were flashes of the Tim Burton movie that were really great, but they dropped the ball in an epic way for such an amazing story. They let Tim Burton get in his own way, I think, too much with this movie. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the studios got too involved in a good Tim Burton movie and messed it up. But it was not firing on all. And I think the reason for it is that they took the look of the original Planet of the Apes and they made it seem campier to me. Yeah. Whereas they've taken this new series very serious. I don't even think people really, they remember it, but I don't even think they count that movie. As a Planet of the Apes fan, I count the original movies and I count these 3, and that Tim Burton fiasco is just gone. And I know there are people that love the Tim Burton one, but there's people that like Mariah Carey's movies too. It doesn't mean everybody can account for taste, Tim. But I would love to see this. I just think it'd be great. Go see this one. And they do have Steve Zahn. Does the voice of one of the monkeys in this new movie, Bad Ape. And he brings a great quality to this movie that is needed, that gives the audience a voice, which I know that sounds strange because we're humans, but it is so brilliantly done that I think people are going to really like his character, Bad Ape, in this movie too. So go check it out for yourself. 4.5 out of 5 stars from your old pal Dave. And Tim, when you get a chance to see it, come back and let me know what you think and what your thoughts are on it, because this is a great movie. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got more stories to share. Plus, we've got some of your ParaShare. When we return to the best in paranormal talk radio, this is Beyond the Darkness.
Beyond the darkness.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Darkness. All right, we had a chance to talk about the new Planet of the Apes movie, Tim.
Yep.
There's a new movie that broke, too, that I want to at least touch on real quickly, because it's been a while since we've given some movie reviews.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, this movie has just come out. It's part of the new Marvel Universe, so they were actually able to blend him into this story kind of seamlessly, giving us a new direction and feel. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people put down the movies that have come out over the last decade, and it's weird to see the same character rebooted in such a tight amount of time. Kind of like we were talking about with Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
But I really liked Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man, and the second one with Dr. Octopus was flawless.
I did too, yeah. I agree.
Those were two of my favorite superhero movies, I think, to come out. And that's because I was a huge Spider-Man fan. Then this Andrew Garfield thing that came out, those two movies just seemed to miss the mark. Like, they were not even aware of what fans like about comic book movies.
Right.
Or about superheroes in general. So we got a taste of Spider-Man in the Civil War movie. And it was a good taste. It left this refreshing, fun flavor in my mouth. And I loved it. I'm looking forward to seeing where they take this character. I got a little worried when they called it Spider-Man Homecoming. That really doesn't sound like a superhero-y movie to me.
Yeah.
But I got the whole little gist of the play on words. And, you know, they certainly, if you are a comic book purist, you have to put that away. We don't have to revisit the origin. It just already accepted. He was bitten by a radioactive spider. Now he's kind of gone from wearing sweats and fighting crime in the streets to, you know, being selected by Tony Stark as kind of a protege and given this great costume, which when you look at it in hindsight, from the way that they would emote in the comic books by showing Spider-Man's eyes get larger and smaller, and when you realize that was a cloth mask, it's almost impossible to believe that that's what was going on. So the fact that they were able to do this and say that Tony built this costume for him, that's why it reacts the way it does. I like that, and I'll give them that. I would say overall, this is, I think, one of the more fun. This is like Ant-Man to me. This has got a lot of fun humor to it. It's quirky, and it's just a good overall story. And as a Spider-Man purist and somebody that loves the story, I really thought they handled this pretty well. One or two little idiosyncrasies about it, but I'm not going to nitpick. I just really enjoyed the movie, and I think that they did something in this movie, Tim, that every other superhero movie beforehand has had trouble with. And I mean, in the old Spider-Man canons, not in the new Marvel universe.
Okay.
Or even like thinking back to Tim Burton's Batman movies, right? The first one was good. The second one, they started to try to weigh it down with too many characters. The third one was just a mess. Fourth one, fifth one, it was horrible, right? So what I thought was really interesting was they introduce us to a lot of Spider-Man's canon characters and villains in this movie without making them the star of the movie and without taking over the movie. But now you're laying this foundation for a very rich history with Spider-Man that I think can play out really well. And I'm excited to see where they take it. I'm going to go on this one. Out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it a solid 4 stars. Now, what did you think? You love these movies as much as I do when it comes to superheroes. Were you let down, or do you love what they did with the new Spider-Man?
I thought it was good, but not great. And here's why. Like you said, there were just enough changes to I think, distract me a little bit. I loved I loved the first and second, and I thought Spider-Man 2, Raimi's Spider-Man 2 was absolutely perfect. I don't think any Spider-Man movie will ever top that for me. In that, I understand what they had to do in order to tie Spider-Man back into the Marvel Universe. I understand what they had to do in order to make him fit. And I think Tom Holland is amazing as Peter Parker in Spider-Man. I think totally he absolutely absolutely embodies the character. He hits a grand slam home run. He's the character. With that being said, I think there are so many changes that to me it almost became a little distracting. But I do agree in the fact that they managed to juggle all these characters and they do it brilliantly. And it almost feels it integrates so well that you go, wow, that was amazing. The humor is there, the action is there. It's a complete movie and it's an enjoyable ride. With that being said, there were just some things when I walked out, I went, it's a version of Spider-Man that I like, and I do like it, it just is. It's this era's version of Spider-Man. It's not the Spider-Man I grew up on.
Right.
Which is fine.
I think that's okay, too, because they've done so many changes in the Spider-Man world and in all comic book universes. Every 5 to 10 years, they upheave the entire series and try to reimagine these characters anyway.
Yeah.
And I've lost touch with that. So to me, this was a fun, if this was a first step into Spider-Man for me, I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel let down. I mean, there were a few aspects I would have liked them to have covered and hit upon, but you know what? Like I said, to me, I wasn't going to nitpick.
Yeah, and this is this era's version of Spider-Man. I resigned myself to that during the movie. I thought, it's this era's version, and I can get with it. I'm fine with it. And I thought, the thing that made me sad about it though, and this is the thing that makes me sad about it, is knowing that now the franchise is probably going to go back to Sony. And we're not going to see Marvel's involvement in it again. And that's the one thing that made me kind of...
Oh, no, they've already talked about it. They're going to continue this series on in the Marvel Universe.
I hope so, because...
Well, here's the deal. They'd be stupid not to. Their last 2 movies failed. This thing opened up to... I think the first day was like $75 million or some crazy amount. I think Sony's lost their ass on the last 2 Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, Sony can't fully take this back over again because Marvel's done such a good job of recreating this universe, of making it stand on its own and actually be cohesive and enjoyable, and to yank the reins back again by Sony would be a mistake because they truly did fumble the ball with it. With that being said, I might give it a little less because of some of the distractions, and I'll give you... Well, I don't even know that I should.
Yeah, don't give anything away on it. Just let people see it for themselves. But I think the important thing is, Tim, this has opened up the doors to maybe start bringing other characters over from Sony or maybe one of the other movie companies that own franchise because they can see the power of allowing Marvel to do this the right way. So I'm hoping that we'll see some more joint ventures to bring really solid stories back.
The one that everyone's talking about now is the Tom Hardy Venom solo movie. And somewhere in there, they're going to clash again. You're going to have Spider-Man, you're going to have Venom, and I hope you have a much better version of Venom than Spider-Man 3. So that eventually is going to happen. I give it a 3.5 overall. I enjoyed it. It was a very good movie. Like I said, good but not great.
All right, let's get back to it. Where are we going next in the world of supernatural news?
Well, would you like to get paid to spend a night in a haunted prison, Dave? Is that one of those things where...
line me up. Are you not aware I've been working in radio for 12 years? I'll stay anywhere I can get paid now, Tim.
Yeah, I would too, pretty much.
You see Tim and I at the Sugar Shack next weekend as part of the Chunkendale's Dancers.
Yeah, I've already got my tassels and pasties ready.
Spooky and the Boo Boy, that's what they call us. Spooky and the Boo Boy. All right, so what's going on? You can make money to sleep in a haunted prison?
You can. You must not be scared of ghosts or the dark, according to the job description. There's something that's Captain Obvious right there. If you think you're brave enough, Shepton Mallet Prison is looking for someone to stay in the grounds overnight, and you'll get paid for it. Hey, kids, look, it's a paying job. The site, which was a working prison up until 2013, is now used as an events venue, offering cell escape challenges. There's your Houdini right there. Corporate days and paranormal activity tours due to a wealth of ghostly sightings. But if that doesn't put you off, the prison is looking for an overnight supervisor to take on a number of duties between 7:30 p.m. and 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. The successful applicant will be in charge of checking and unlocking areas of the building used by paranormal groups and being on site in the event of an emergency. The prison's job listing seeks someone with good communication skills who is able to work unsupervised. It also reiterates that the candidates must not be scared of ghosts of the dark. And Dave, this thing pays exactly as much as radio does.
I'll take it. But it's mostly sleeping and hanging out in a dark place, which I guess very much like radio. Never mind.
With the conversion rate, it pays almost, in fact, it pays a little less than radio does. It pays £7.50 an hour. So $7, and it would be $7.50 an hour in pounds. I think the conversion rate would be a little less than $9 an hour.
Yeah. That was, all right. So it's $1 less than we made for 9 years on radio, Tim.
Yeah. The prison's main building was constructed in 1610 as a house of correction. In its early life, it housed everyone from thieves and debtors to those who had mental health issues, and owing to its subpar sanitation, death and disease were commonplace. So, it was a nice place to stay. As well as its terrible living conditions, the prison was known for dealing out grisly deaths, with a number of doomed inmates being hung, drawn in quarters, or shot by firing squad, depending on what century they were in. Because of this, Shepton Mallet Prison has been known for ghostly activity, with a number of sightings and reports recorded over the years. But if you don't scare easily, you can certainly pick up an application. It's paying well.
Do it. Stop suckling at the teeth of society and go get a job.
I'm all for it. That sounds pretty remarkable. If you take the gig, if you are listening and you end up with that gig, you've got to call us and let us know what it's like.
$7.50 an hour.
I'll take it. All right, where are we going next?
Let me
mention one thing.
Yep.
While you're doing that. Somebody sent me a Craigslist ad.
Yeah.
Haunted paranormal ghost guitar, $5,000 in Hollywood, California, Tim.
$5,000?
This singular guitar came into my possession quite by accident and has spooked me enough that I want to get rid of it, although I'm quite confident this ghoulish guitar would be fine for someone more in tune with the tenebrous forces of the malevolent netherworld. I myself have little knowledge of such things and prefer not to meddle with the morbid mysteries of the macabre. Here's what I know and what I've been told. A kid that lived on my street when I was growing up was rumored to be into devil worship, seances, Aleister Crowley, black magic, and other dark endeavors of the spirit world. Strangely, despite the youth's somewhat dweebish appearance, he was quite popular. Guys in the neighborhood wanted to be him. Girls thought they could change him. It sounds like your life story, Tim.
Yep, exactly.
His mother, a propagating practitioner of the pagan arts, informed me that this neophyte necromancer was born in June of 1966, Tim. That's right, 666. And died tragically on Halloween, October 31st of 1979, when he was just 13 years old. His death has never been solved, but the calamitous kid was found lying on his bed with this guitar draped across him, apparently electrocuted, even though this is an acoustic guitar. Additionally, when the damnable corpse of this soulless stooge of Satan was eventually discovered, a 45 record of Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper was playing repeatedly on the Moppets GE Wildcat record changer. A Swanson TV dinner turkey with all the fixins remained uneaten, while the air was thick with the acrid smell of sulfur emanating from some perverse potion that young Hellion had been mixing with his little Gilbert chemistry set. Wow, this guy uses a lot of $10 words. The licentious lad's Farrah Fawcett swimsuit poster mockingly stared down upon the dead boy as if to say, "See you in hell, Buster." Somewhere, a dog barked in the distance. You got to give this guy credit for his writing ability.
Yeah.
Years later, I ran into the defunct boy's mother, and when I told her that I was a professional guitarist, she offered me her devilish, daisy-pushing son's git fiddle. Since I owned this guitar, I've heard the strings discordantly ring out, despite no one being near the guitar. Further, on 3 occasions, I put the guitar in my bedroom closet, only to find the guitar on my bed when I returned home. And I live alone. The final straw occurred when I saw the guitar levitate out of the trash can I had somberly placed it in. Oh, now, see, that's where you just lost me. So you'd thrown it out, and now you want $5,000 for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for those of you brave enough to tamper with the spirit world, I offer you this unique guitar, which appears to date from the late 1950s to early 60s. Satan has apparently stricken the brand name decal from the headstock of the guitar, but it might be a harmony. My expertise lies more with vintage and custom shop Gibson and Fender instruments, particularly the Les Paul Telecaster and Stratocaster models. I've enclosed several frightening representations of this guitar that have appeared in my dreams, as well as a photo of the deceased or original owner. And to the buyer of this ghastly guitar, congratulations, though please use extreme caution when conjuring the phantasmic spirits that seem to be channeled through this eerie instrument.
So he's selling you a Sears knockoff for $5,000.
Yes, and he's got pictures of it poorly photoshopped into graveyards, half buried, coming out of the ground. God. It's clever. It's a funny little ad, but I just thought that's Only $5,000, Tim. I'd pay $4,000 just for the story if I was a rich man.
Yeah.
If I were a wealthy man. All right, what's your next story for me?
A mom checks in on her sleeping son's baby monitor and discovers something terrifying on the screen. Now, you may think this may not have been the first time we've told you this story, but baby monitors are becoming the new video cameras, Dave, when it comes to paranormal investigators.
To demonic activity?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Evidently, that's what malevolent spirits love to show themselves on now.
Sure.
The chilling image that appeared on the monitor screen left the woman speechless. Laura High and her partner, Dean Evans, set up a baby monitor after their 18-month-old son, Sebastian, repeatedly tried to climb out of his cot. But when Laura, 39 years old, went on to check Sebastian on one occasion, she noticed something horrifying. Next to her sleeping baby, a second ghost baby had appeared.
I'm not paying the support for that one.
Double the feedings, Dave. And it even waved at her. Like, hi, Mom. 42-year-old Dean, who is a boat builder, went on to investigate what was in the cot, but found Sebastian sleeping alone, which is as it should be, because babies shouldn't be getting it on in cots, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Chillingly, the ghostly shape was visible on the monitor and moving into different positions. Sometimes he brings a teddy to bed with him, so at first I thought it could be that, but this just looks weird, Laura said. Dean was a bit gobsmacked that there was nothing there, but it was still appearing on the monitor. He was a bit spooked as he doesn't believe in that kind of thing and just can't explain it. I've checked out the camera and I'm sure that there was nothing wrong with it. The couple from Plymouth, Devon, said that they were left traumatized by the creepy image, but whatever they saw on the monitor didn't seem to bother baby Sebastian too much. He slept fine all night and at one point even appeared to cuddle with whatever it was. If he is not distressed by it, then that is good, Laura said. Ghost cuddling. The mom of four even...
What's wrong with little ghost cuddling, Tim?
Everything.
Nothing.
What if it's Satan?
Wow. Well, if he spoons and doesn't want to keep making me get him up to make sandwiches, I'm all for it.
Well, there you go. The mom of four even admitted that this isn't the first paranormal encounter the family's had. We've had photos turned upside down or thrown off the wall and things disappearing when they were disappearing when they were there only moments before, she said. We see orbs all the time, and I've spotted shadows in the background of photos in the past, but this is definitely the most clear thing we have seen so far.
That is creepy. When you're a parent and you see that in the crib with your kid, I understand that. Yeah. That is a very bizarre moment. Very weird. But fascinating. Still, if it's just a ghost baby, you know, what damage is it going to do? Ghost spit up? Ghost poo-poos?
Well, yeah. I mean, you ever had to clean ghost crap up out of a diaper?
Yes, I have. Have you ever had a ghost poop, Tim? You go, you look down, nothing there. You wipe, nothing there. It was a ghost poop. How did that happen?
I know, right?
Yeah, those are freaky. Those are truly terrifying. Do you have any more stories for us?
I do, yes. Okay. Project Bluebeam is where we're going next. Was NASA testing us to prepare us for an alien UFO invasion, Dave? Were they?
I hope so.
Well, I hope so, too. A dramatic video of bizarre bright lights set off in the night sky saw 2,000 terrified reports from stunned onlookers. NASA says it was responsible for the even, which was labeled an early Independence Day fireworks display. But UFO conspiracy theorists say this was a so-called false flag to test people's reaction to paranormal events, such as an alien attack. The Project Bluebeam conspiracy theory claims that through NASA, the U.S. government will one day use hologram technology to create a false paranormal event such as a UFO invasion or even a second coming in order to introduce new controls upon us all. And why wouldn't they, Dave? Because they have better things to do. I don't know.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah. While the Daily Star reports ufologists believe the space agency may have sent UFOs into the sky in order to prepare people on Earth for an impending invasion of extraterrestrial life. In truth, after multiple failed attempts, NASA's Malamute-sounding rocket lit up the sky with blue, green, and red artificial clouds on Thursday. The light show was seen by witnesses across the U.S. from North Carolina to New York. In tweets with photos of the rocket launch, the space agency called it an early Independence Day fireworks display. Yay. The rocket launch from Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia in the U.S. Reached an altitude of 118 miles and lasted 8 minutes. 4 minutes in, it deployed 10 canisters about the size of soft drink cans, each containing colored vapor that forms artificial luminescent clouds. The Wallops facility and local police stations reportedly received 2,000 UFO reports and photographs from stunned onlookers terrified about what exactly the unidentified flights were. Tyler Glockner, who runs controversial UFO YouTube channel Secure Team 10, said in a video, "This looks like an alien invasion, and it would appear that they're testing these different technologies that could potentially be used in order to get people frightened and flood the 9/11 centers with calls about these strange lights moving through the sky. They run their test, and they got the reaction, and they have the perfect cover story. Is this a test of Project Bluebeam? Do you guys think that a lot of the UFO sightings we see are not from off-planet, but are in fact from our own government?" These are different questions that are being asked, by the way. Another one said, "Are they nothing but holographic simulations in order to condition us for the big alien invasion?" I love these questions. Project Bluebeam has largely been debunked as a fictitious theory, first presented in 1994 by Quebec journalist and conspiracy theorist Serge Monast in the book Project Bluebeam. Many viewers were unconvinced by Secure Team 10's shock claims. One viewer said, "The fear-mongering in your videos is not necessary to gain a following. You being one pioneer of the ufology, you should be pursuing a change in how the public views aliens." Mr. Glockner appears on a number of UFO blacklists created by more skeptical investigators due to claims he uses false footage and misrepresentation in his videos. Mr. Glockner denies misleading people and claims to be a genuine investigator. And there you go.
All right. And do you have one last story for us, Mr. Dennis?
One last story for you, sure. Let's talk a little bit about a mysterious island that's risen from the sea in the Bermuda Triangle, Dave. Speaking of strange things out there that are happening this week, a mysterious island really has risen from the sea in the Bermuda Triangle, known for a series of mysterious incidents, such as the sinking of a Navy cargo ship in 1918. The Bermuda Triangle is known for all kinds of strange things, but reports this morning suggest that a mysterious and deadly island has risen from the waves in the area. Paranormal enthusiasts claim that the area is cursed and that the sinkings are caused by forces such as time portals or something to do with Atlantis. But while an island has formed in the sea near the Bermuda Triangle, note it's near the triangle, not actually in it, it's not quite as mysterious as it might seem. The island off Cape Point in North Carolina isn't entirely new. In fact, islands have formed there in the past. It's also not full of aliens, UFOs, or time travelers, although local authorities say it's dangerous because of riptides. So while the image taken by a drone is spectacular, there's nothing paranormal or indeed abnormal about it. It's just an island forming in a place where islands have formed in the past. Local woman Janice Regan told news outlet Pilot Online, "Yeah, isn't it crazy? It was just a little bump in April. Oh, so it was pregnant, and then it got bigger, and then it's a big old island now, Dave."
Sure, it's filled with the screaming souls of thousands of people that have gone missing, Tim. Real cute little baby island, real cute.
What?
Well, just an island appears out of nowhere in the Bermuda Triangle or near the Bermuda Triangle, which they've kind of made it into like a hexagonal shape now, I think. I don't even think it's a triangle. If they look at all the traffic that's disappeared in like this really weird, odd shape out there, rhombus perhaps it was, Tim, they seem to find a lot more that fit into that scope.
Yeah, true.
So, but now a new island, but it's dangerous because of the riptide.
Riptides, yep.
And that it's near the Bermuda Triangle. That should be the real key. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I do have one little story here about Alice Cooper, if you want to end on that note.
All right, go ahead. What's going on with Miss Cooper?
Not Miss Cooper, Dave.
No?
Alice Cooper is a guy.
What?
Yeah, he sang Schools Out and...
Really?
All those other
Next thing
songs.
you're going to try to tell me Marilyn Manson is a guy, too. Come on, dude, grow up.
No, Dave, Marilyn Manson is a guy.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, they're both guys. Yeah, they're both guys.
And I suppose Pat Boone is a guy, too.
It's an androgynous society, Dave. Pat Boone is a guy.
Are those all the Hollywood vampires? Pat Boone, Marilyn Manson, and Alice Cooper?
And Johnny Depp.
I understand that. What's going on with Alice Cooper?
Well, Alice Cooper's new album is called Paranormal, by the way, and the artist says he's had his own ghostly experience. Speaking at the Nordhoff Robbins O2 Silverclef Awards today, I know you've never heard of him before, but he might have gotten one. The singer, real name Vincent Furrier, you'd change your name to Alice Cooper too if that was your name. Told metro.co.uk, I decided to call it Paranormal because I think all of us have little quirky paranormal things about us. I had a weird little happening with Joe Perry and I, where we were in a house together and everything was moving around. I mean, literally, you'd put something down in the room, walk out, and it was gone. It happened to him and it happened to me, furniture moving around and stuff like that. Despite Alice Cooper's shock rock antics and fake executions being part of his show, it seems his love of the macabre doesn't extend off the stage. It's not like the movies where you go, let's go take a flashlight and see. We got to get out of there. It wasn't scary. It was a bit more playful, but enough to make you want to leave. When you can't figure out what it is, you get out of there. Evidently, Alice Cooper has no stomach for the paranormal. The School's Out for the Summer singer also revealed his original Alice Cooper band, from whom he split in 1975, taking the name, will be back for his next tour. The band is showing up. We're doing shows together, but only in Britain, he said. After they cut my head off, the curtain comes down, and then the curtain comes back up, and it's the original band back on stage. So I think it's going to be different. It's going to be different.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, the 69-year-old has also credited his dancer wife, Cheryl, with his trim physique. He said, I have never been in better shape physically. Of course, my wife of 41 years here teaches ballet and jazz. I wish I could do ballet. I'm not that good, he said. Well, whatever he's doing, it's clearly working for him. So there you go.
Well, congratulations, Alice Cooper, for yet another album that I won't listen to. It's scary, Tim. Scary. No, yeah. I'm not kidding. I'd love to. I put out an invitation to him to appear on our show.
He was in town not too long ago. I know that.
Yeah, and I just reached out to him again recently saying, hey, love to have you, Miss Cooper. And for some reason, she didn't respond. I don't know.
Wow. Well, there might be a reason, Dave.
Why?
Keep calling him a her.
Really? Are you kidding me?
He might be a little offended.
I thought she was just the pretty member of KISS.
No.
I'm just teasing.
No,
I know
Dave.
who Alice Cooper is.
I almost went Michael Jackson on the bed. No, Dave, that's ridiculous.
You're being ignorant.
You're being ignorant, Dave.
Okay, let's get to some ParaShare stories here. Boy, time is moving quick on us tonight. I've actually wanted to write in and share some things since I found your podcast last year. As a Minnesota transplant, I'm sorry I've missed Darkness Radio all these years. I know I don't possess the talent for writing that you and Tim have, so feel free to clean this up however you like. I've told this story to pretty much everyone I know, both here and back in Austin, Minnesota. The story begins back in 1996. My wife and I had just moved to her hometown of Bakersfield from my home state of Minnesota, and we're starting our new life together here. We rented our first apartment as husband and wife over on Hughes Lane from a family friend. We and our dogs moved into the 2-bedroom next to a dog-friendly park, 3 blocks from the mall, so dogs and wife were happy with the location. The master bedroom was ours, and the spare was used to store boxes of our belongings that we wouldn't need until we bought a house. About a month after moving in, my wife began reading The Right Hand of Evil, which she would read out loud to the dogs in the evening, but would sit next to the bed. But would sit next to the bed and listen to her read a chapter or so a day, often sitting up and watching her face, almost as if the story made sense to them, or at least that's what I would say in jest when I saw them. After a few days, she noticed they were no longer watching her, but instead were both watching at the same spot on the ceiling near the window. As an expert on paranormal, are dogs sensitive to these things? Well, we'll answer that in a few moments. She also told me that she was beginning to feel uncomfortable reading in the bedroom, and that the dogs were now sitting in the doorway and refusing to enter. So the family moved out to the living room where I would be on the computer completing lesson plans or college assignments. As a bit of a skeptic, I chalked these events up to nerves of living in a new place. Over the next couple of days, and only when she was reading, one of the dogs began to whine and pace nervously, while our male staffy would sit in her lap and emit a low growl, and both of them looking into the kitchen. Now, here is where I made my mistake. I did exactly what they tell you not to do. In an attempt to calm my wife, and still being skeptical, I strode out to the kitchen and challenged whatever it was to stop scaring women and dogs. Man up, grow a pair, and show yourself. Nothing happened. Confident that I had done my manly duty, I turned back to the living room to find the wife and dogs huddled on the couch, dogs still showing their teeth. I laughed and said to forget about it. Since it was getting towards bedtime, I took the dogs out to do their business before bed, and my wife walked across the small parking lot to do the laundry to get our clothes from the dryer. Moments later, I heard her scream. Then I could hear her running back towards the apartment. As the dogs and I met her at the back door, she told me she had seen a man hatefully glaring at her over the top of the fence while she was walking back. I went outside to investigate and found only our laundry. When I asked her to show me where she had seen the man, she pointed to the 8-foot privacy fence at the edge of the parking lot, which was perhaps 20 feet from where I found the laundry basket. On the other side of this fence was a thick hedge, leaving no room for someone to stand, much less a 9-foot-tall man. Still thinking this was just overactive imagination, we retrieved our laundry and went inside. It took a while for everyone to cool down and get to sleep, but we eventually did. In the middle of the night, I awoke to find my wife screaming, "He's in here! He's in here!" I leapt up and grabbed the baseball bat I had by the bed, expecting some lunatic had broken in, and I was about to fight for my life. But nothing was there. The dogs are going crazy, my wife is sobbing in fear, and I'm thinking she's lost her freaking mind, and her panic is spreading to the dogs. Now keep in mind that I had seen, heard, nor felt anything yet. Oh, keep in mind that I had not seen, heard, or felt anything yet. She described a tall, long-haired man with a menacing face, one that she could somehow see despite the dark bedroom. Needless to say, the lights stayed on that night. The next day, she threw out the book. She was convinced that it, or her reading it, had somehow attracted whatever this was. For weeks, she refused to stay in the apartment alone. When I left for work or class, she would take the dogs to her mother's house and stay till I got home. The paranormal harassment came and went as the days passed. Lights flickering, phone and internet dropping out, and occasional sightings of the tall man, sometimes looking through a window. Sometimes the dog would launch himself at the air and snap as if trying to bite something. I had still experienced nothing directly, and I had lost patience with the situation. One day, I was home alone, sitting at the computer and working on a term paper, when the computer just turned off. I yelled, I hadn't saved that yet. You just cost me a lot of work, you son of a bitch. Now, of course, I didn't believe in the tall man, and I never expected him to answer. Behind my desk, on the floor, was an old AM/FM stereo and speakers. They were not plugged in and hadn't been for months. The thing didn't even work. I had just been too lazy to get rid of it. This broken stereo suddenly came on. If you've ever been just out of range of a talk radio station, you heard the voices just beyond the static forming words, and you just can't make it out, this is as close as I can come to describing what I heard. What immediately changed me from skeptic to believer was that this voice, beyond the static, was clearly not human. Malice radiated off that broken yet alive radio like waves of heat. I'm not too proud to say that I was absolutely terrified as soon as I realized this had no earthly explanation. For what felt like ages, I was frozen on the spot until I heard the voice say, "This is on you." As a full-grown man, I did what any other full-grown man would do. I ran like hell, grabbed my keys and wallet on the counter. On my way out the door, as I slammed the door behind me, I swear I heard a staticky chuckle. I walked to the mall. I tried to convince myself this didn't happen. I had this argument with myself for the next 2 hours. Wow, that's a lot of arguing, Tim, even if it's just with yourself.
Yeah.
Let me see. For the next 2 hours, then I called my wife and apologized like you wouldn't believe. I told her it was time to buy a house and move. When I could bring myself to walk home, I opened the door, ran to the broken stereo, took it outside, and threw it in the dumpster. No, it didn't appear back in the house. Walking past the apartment, though, I said the following out loud, hoping someone or something would hear me. I know I was wrong, and we desperately need help to keep this guy away. Please help. I was just passing the door to the spare room, and I heard a woman's laugh just on the other side. Rather than terror, I suddenly felt relieved and calm. I opened the door and looked inside, but of course no one was visible. After that, there were no more appearances from the tall man. Still, a few minor electric games were played with... a few minor electronic games were played with our answering machine, and sometimes the phone would ring once in the dead of night. But over the next 6 weeks, while we found and bought a new house, the feeling of terror was mostly gone. I don't know who the woman was that laughed, but I thank her for keeping the tall man at bay until we left, and for not letting him follow us. Approximately 8 years after we moved in, a new classroom instructional assistant was hired at our site. One day at lunch, I was telling the story to friends while she was there. During the course of the conversation, we discovered that she had rented the exact same apartment. She said that she felt like she was being watched several times, mostly when she was alone. After hearing about my experiences, she and her fiancé moved out the same month. As I'm sitting here typing this, I could feel the hair on the back of my arm standing up when I thought about that radio. Funny how you don't think about a thing, almost like you forgot it, and then it comes roaring back. Whether or not you use this on the podcast, thanks for reading it. If you have any questions, I'm always available. Keep up the great work. And here's hoping Tim is feeling better. And that comes from Brian in Bakersfield, California. Well, Brian, animals, everybody says that they can sense things and witness the paranormal. And I think that we also forget a lot of times that dogs and cats have an uncanny sense of smell and hearing. So sometimes when the dog just stops and stares off into the corner, you may think they're looking up at the ceiling when they're really just trying to tip their ears to be able to hear something that may be miles or blocks away from you. So I wouldn't say everything that they're reacting to is of the paranormal ilk. But this definitely sounds like there was something creepy going on where you were living. And all I got to say is I'm glad we never had to visit. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't visit either. Yeah.
Would you go and stay in that apartment for like 6 months, Tim?
Sure, why not?
Really?
Yeah.
You already think the paranormal's out to get you. Would you really want to go hang out with the stick man and see what other kind of nefarious activity he's got up his creepy sleeves?
As long as the fridge is stocked and the TV is big, sure. And the cable package is full, I'm good.
What if they keep flipping on and off your TV while you're trying to watch it?
Well, we got to agree on a channel.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Hey guys, I love the podcast. I listen daily. Anyway, here's my story. A few years ago, some friends and I decided we would head up the canyon about 10 minutes from my home. After a couple of hours of telling ghost stories and hanging out by the fire, one of my friends took one of the girls to see the waterfall. That's in quotes there, Tim. The rest of us stayed by the fire and chatted. During a lull in the storytelling, I heard some rustling in the trees behind us. I didn't think much of it because we were in the woods. A few minutes later, I heard a louder noise that sounded like a tree falling in the woods. And yes, it made a sound. Everyone jumped from the sound, and we all started looking around. About a minute passed, then we heard another tree slam to the ground. A little closer now. Another minute passed, and yet another tree smashed into the ground, closer yet. We all looked at each other and decided if it must be our friend who separated from us earlier trying to scare us. One of the guys yelled out, "Kempton, knock it off!" We waited about 5 seconds before hearing another tree collide with the ground. "Kempton, it's not funny anymore. Come on out," we all yelled. But there was no reply. We decided to head into the woods and find him if he wasn't going to come out. Oh, that's so stupid. Do these people not watch horror movies, Tim?
Evidently not.
I got 15 feet past the tree line where I heard something run by me. I turned to see what it was, and that's when I saw a glowing white owl staring back at me. I panicked and tried to run for safety. Me and my other friends sprinted for the truck and locked ourselves inside. We asked each other what we had seen, and I replied, "Yes, I saw something." One friend also said that he had, and the third hadn't seen anything. I asked my friend what he saw, and he said he saw a glowing white cougar. like animal. I told him I had seen a glowing white owl. And needless to say, we spent the rest of our time up there waiting for my friend to get back with the keys. After what seemed like an eternity, my friend returned from the waterfall, and we recanted our story. I think recounted is maybe what you wanted to say. Recant means you pull back your story.
Right.
He then told us one of our other friends, he then told us of one of our other friends that he was up there the week before with. He said he was driving down the canyon when they hit a dog-like creature. They slammed on their brakes to check on it. He looked in the rearview mirror and saw an old Native American man limping off. After hearing that story, we flew out of the canyon as fast as we could. On our way home, we crossed a long stretch of road. It was about 2 a.m. About halfway down the road, a white horse walked up to the side of the road. My friend drove up to it, and it stopped. The horse's eyes were pitch black, like looking into a cave. I took a picture of the horse and zoomed in on its eyes. There was a face in each eye, one I've never seen before. We sped off and didn't stop speeding until we got home. This is one of the scariest nights of my life. I don't know if it was a skinwalker, but all I know is I don't want anything like that to happen again. Thanks for reading. Tim and Dave, if you could do a podcast on skinwalkers, that would be awesome. And that comes from McCade. Well, we have. We've done shows on skinwalkers. We may revisit that again sometime in the future, but we have. That was freaky.
You know what, Dave? Now is a great time to mention where our archives are, Darkness Radio archives.
Yeah, how can people find our old shows from like when we began, 2006, 2007, Tim? Do those still exist somewhere?
Well, they do, Dave. And, back when we were young bucks and we were just starting out, we have those shows actually. And there is one show with Colm Kelleher about the Skinwalker Ranch over right now at Conflict Radio Official's YouTube page. And in fact, I put up a link on my Twitter page at drtimdennis this past weekend.
If you just remember, go to darknessradio.com, click on the Darchives tab, and it'll open up all of those archive shows so you can find them there. Darknessradio.com. Click on the Darchives tab, and you'll find all of those YouTube videos.
And look for the one with Colm Kelleher in the Skinwalker Ranch in particular, and it's a fascinating interview that Dave did with Colm Kelleher.
Yeah, that was that was way back in 2006, wasn't it?
Yep.
All right. Well, you know what? We're pretty much out of time this week, Tim. We'll do this again next week, and we'll have more ParaShare, and more supernatural stories to share. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We have brand new True Crime Tuesday, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do so or consider it. Go check it out for yourself. It is a great show. Every Tuesday, you get 90 to 120-minute show delivered to you through Patreon. $5 a month. That's only $1.25 per episode. Less than one big cup of coffee at any one of these coffee houses, and you get a full month's worth of great talk radio about true crime, plus dumb crimes and stupid criminals. That's tomorrow. Plus, we've got more of the best in paranormal talk radio all week long right here on Beyond the Darkness.